I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. Boys and girls, you were given that gift of faith at your baptism, and today that gift of faith continues to be fed and nourished as you receive Jesus in Holy Communion. But how do we know that that's really Jesus? How do we know that Jesus is really present there in the tabernacle? Well, I'd like to tell you a little story. It's a story about another pope. We just elected a new pope this week. How exciting, right? Leo the 14th. But I want to tell you the story about another pope whose name was Pope John Paul II. And he came to visit the United States of America back in 1995, before any of you were even born. He came here. And I remember his visit very, very well. It was on television, and thousands of people came to see him. But on the very last day that he was here, he had a very, very tight schedule because he had to get on his plane to go back to Rome. And the day started early in the morning with a huge, huge mass in Camden Yards, where thousands of people crowded into that stadium to celebrate Mass with the Holy Father, Pope John Paul II. And then after the Mass, there was a huge parade where he was going through the streets. And then he went to visit the first cathedral in the United States of America, the cathedral of it's now the Basilica of the Assumption. And if that wasn't already a busy day, then he went to have lunch at Catholic Charities with homeless people. And then after that, he went to visit the cathedral of Mary, our Queen. And you would think that that would be enough, but then he went on to visit the seminary. That's where young men are studying to become priests. And because of his short schedule, they thought it would be best if the seminarians lined up on the steps of the seminary instead of having him come into the building. But when Pope John Paul II got there, they realized that he wanted to go into the chapel and he wanted to pray. But in order to do this, they had to check the building to make sure that it was secure and safe, that nobody was in there. So how did they do it so quickly and on time? They sent in special dogs that were trained to look for people. And so they started off by going into all the classrooms, sniffing as they went along, looking underneath all the desks, then running down the hallways and sniffing away as they went along. And they didn't find anybody. And then they went through some more classrooms and did the same thing, sniffing all over the place, and they didn't find anybody. And then finally they had to go down through the chapel to make sure that the chapel was clear and that no one was in the chapel, that no one was hiding maybe underneath a pew. And so they went into the chapel and they started going through all the pews, sniffing away. And all of a sudden, the dogs stopped. And they started to point with their tails, and they started to yelp a little bit. And they wouldn't stop moving. Do you know why? They found a real person in the chapel. They stopped and they were staring at a little box like that gold box that we have here, because they found a real person there, Jesus Christ. When I, the priest, say those words over the bread, over the chalice, it becomes the body, the blood, the soul, the divinity of Jesus Christ. It really, truly becomes him And that's what those dogs found. And they wouldn't leave until their masters called them off. Jesus, truly present in the host. And boys and girls, that is who you are going to receive tonight. I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly. What a gift you're going to receive today. And not only this day, but every single time that you come to church, you can receive Jesus in Holy Communion. Wow, what a gift. What an honor. Remember this day, and every time you come to Holy Communion, that special gift that Jesus is giving to you. Congratulations on your first communion. And if you ever forget, stop and think about that story. Jesus is truly present there for you and for me, that all of us may have life and that we may have it more abundantly through the gift of the Eucharist.